bit of a shortcut to some of this. That can be the intervention that you do. In this case, it felt like it was probably a really good one. The other is just to go right to the elevation depression action. And if the shoulder is really screwy, then I say do both of these, okay? There's one that's holding trap down, activating deltoid, that's the firing pattern one. Now it's gonna be about trying to get the scapula in better orientation. And everybody needs this one, where it's holding upper trap down and levator scapula, if I can find it. That's where if I decide to push on something, I try to push on where there's like layers meeting, and that also means like layers sitting on top of each other. So here's upper trap, there's levator scapula. And what does levator scapula do? And upper trap. So why not squash both of them? It can be a bit more posterior, but you see just how far over they are. Don't be over here, be right there. People get scared with neck stuff, is they end up coming over too much. In this case, I may have to ask her to roll a little bit forward for me. Keep the arm on the side, there we go. Now, and I might encourage that. I don't want to be here, I want to be here. So my elbow angle is much more flexed so that my pressure is a bit more posterior. Not lined up right here, so not this. That. Now, what action do I have to have him do?
Shrug.
And then, this isn't quite firing pattern stuff, but if I have a person shorten what I'm pushing on, then I'm inhibiting its action to shorten. But if when they lengthen it, I'm actually encouraging it to lengthen, right? So they get two signals, me pushing on it and them actively eccentrically contracting it to encourage the tissue to lengthen. The antagonist is not being pushed on. So it's a conversation between the muscles, the agonist and the antagonist. So let's say biceps are just stuck short because I'm just so strong. But this is too short. I push on it, inhibitory pressure. I have them concentrically shorten it, then I have them eccentrically lengthen it. But this is also concentrically shortening the antagonists, the triceps, and trying to get that equalized. Like you guys should be equal in how you control the elbow. So just from saying you're too much, so then you need to kick on. It's not quite firing patterns, it's agonist-antagonist relationships. But this tug of war needs to be balanced. For the scapula, it's the lower traps. It's a weird thing with trapezius. You learn trapezius is one big muscle, right? But look at the fiber orientation here. The fibers of upper trapezius go more upward. The middle fibers go more transverse. The lower fibers go more downward. So these three segments do very separate things. They can all work together in some actions, like I'm just standing up or moving my neck, like both upper trapeziuses would do that. But if I do like a side bend, a lateral flex, one side has to shorten while the other side lengthens. On the same side, with a scapular movement, if I elevate my shoulder, my scapula, upper trapezius shortens, lower trapezius lengthens. If I flip that with the good side of depression, God, you gotta tuck your chin in and try to bring the scapulas down. And it should feel like you're activating here. That's activating lower trapezius. Upper trapezius and lower trapezius are antagonists for scapular elevation and depression. Isn't that nifty? And knowing that's great, but ultimately the action just turns into, it's important to know how to shorten it But let's encourage the correct orientation by having them just reach for their toes. And what a sensation that creates. In terms of this area feeling like you're working on it effectively, actively lengthening it has that deep stretch myofascial thing that really, anybody that wants intensity, this is what you go to, especially for a neck shoulder area. So let me do it with a forearm. I like using the forearm because I can even create some additional resistance on the scapular elevation. I go here, and to get my orientation better. Table's just a little low, but not bad. So here, pressure.
Good.
Okay. So a little shrug up. Doesn't have to be too big. And slowly let go, and then reach for your toes. Look for a nice deep stretch. And that's all it is. Let go, nice and easy. Okay, shrug. Reach for your toes. Good, good, good. Let go. All right, I'm gonna have you lift your arm off the side of your body like you're trying to make a wing. There you go. Down. Okay, again. And down. Wow. And both of those things got super. I didn't have to change my position, but one was scapular elevation depression, and the other one's about shoulder abduction. And it's doing that, regardless of what the source of it was, tended to be just one of the best go-tos I could think of. All right. While we're here, just real quick, I want to talk about getting into. Gotcha, didn't I? Being braver about getting that pressure into the suboccipital region, okay? If you can find this, it's just flipping it over. Remembering that your elbow angle has to be set in such a way where you're more posterior, you're bumping into the base of the skull, and then just going deep. As long as you don't end up over, like past their ear, you're good. But look at my orientation here. It's almost the exact same angle. We're just finding the base of the skull and going more straight down. Not trying to push their head, pull their head off their spine. That might feel nice, but here we just want to be between the skull and the neck. Doesn't take a lot of pressure. I can change my orientation just slightly. We're a little bit closer to the ear or more towards the spine. Now with this, your first best intervention is just having them roll their eyes. Don't worry about head movements, just big eye movements. I say keep your eyes closed, big circles. One direction, and then roll your eyes in the other direction. Oculomotor reflexes. Say it 3 times fast. Oculomotor reflexes. Oculomotor reflexes. Oculomotor reflexes. If you're going to have them do neck movements, then you have to say small, super small, super slow circles with your head. But that's usually what scares therapists, is the movement of the neck while they're applying pressure. So don't do it. Apply pressure, have them roll their eyes around. Let's have you lift your shoulder off to the side, good down. Yep, and that's good and tight too. These are frontal plane movements where it makes sense that that's correlated. Yeah. Okay. Self-oriented. Here's where that's where all the pelvic, like I can feel where the superior angle of the scapula is. I can kind of gauge based on this how it's oriented, based on where her neck and her spine is. I know I'm on upper trapum of her scapula. That'll come with time, I swear. Now, I'm gonna say a little shoulder shrug. Pretty good. a tactic here, I'll start with that, just to contract, relax. And then we'll do, all right, let's do that again. Shrug, quick breath. And then this time, as you exhale, reach for your toes, look for a nice stretch. And I'm feeling for what's the distance this hand goes. Let go. Okay, again, shrug, breath. And then with the exhale, reach. Good reach. Good. Let go. Okay. I don't hold it forever. I'll just decrease the pressure. Go a little, and just shake the area out a little bit. Encourage circulation. All of that. Now it's going to be lift your arm off the side of your body. Good. Let go. Again, lift. Good, down. And again. And down. And I've done everything I can think of there. It's a good starting point. Part of what I want to encourage is here are things that work the most. Like they work most of the time, especially coupled in your regular just full body squishes. So start with the regular full body massage with maybe 1 or 2 interventions. See how things respond. If that's all you need to do, then stick with it until the improvements stop. And then start looking further and adding new pieces in. Big circles with your eyes. Anytime in areas that potentially are sensitive though, I mean, you should start out with your pressure checks. I've already gauged kind of what her pressure tolerance is. But starting out, I do encourage, especially like suboccipitals, do the, when it's just perfect. Now, if I were to do the head movements, I would say super, super small, super, super slow, roll your head around, little circles. And good, let go. It doesn't take that much time to sprinkle in, because that would be conjoined with like the actual like massage piece. Or as I said, you save it and